published 1730 Est, the 23rd of November 2017, updated 1730 Est, the 23rd of November 2017. Everton requested a personal hearing for Oumar Niasse over his diving charge. Maybe that was the problem. If Niasse said to the commission what he told the media after the game with Crystal Palace, he was always going to get weighed off. It was on my upper body, and when I felt the contact, I was in the box, so that is it, Niasse explained. That is all I have to do. Go on the floor. If you to the video, you can understand there is contact. That is less justification, more confession. Where does it say it is a foul if there is contact with a forward in the penalty area? Football is a contact sport. Players collide or come together all the time. So the best that can be said of Niasse is a language barrier prevented him expressing himself clearly. The worst is that he admitted he dived. Oumar Niasse has been banned for simulation after the FA rejected Everton's appeal. Niasse, pictured in training on Wednesday, is the first Premier League player banned for diving. He will now serve a 2-game retrospective ban for his actions against Crystal Palace. Rewind that statement. I felt contact. I was in the box, so that is it. All I have to do. Go on the floor. Nowhere does this suggest that Scott Dan's contact, which appears minimal, sent him tumbling. Niasse does not claim he was tripped by Dan, knocked to the floor, even pushed a little. He talks about his reaction, not as unavoidable, but as a decision he made to go on the floor. And that's a dive. Whichever way you slice it, that's a dive, and that's cheating. Niasse deserved his 2-game ban, even if there was contact. We have come so far in our pragmatism that we have muddied our language along with our moral code. We have invented so many euphemisms for what is, at root, dark-hearted gamesmanship that we have started to believe their legitimacy. He made the most of it. No, he dived. He gave the referee a decision to make. No, he dived. He feels the contact and is entitled to go down. Or HES not, and that's a dive, too. Niasse clearly bought into all of this, to the extent he misinterpreted football's weasel words as a genuine case for the defense. The former professionals who talk football for a living are often very insightful, very knowledgeable individuals. But they are largely products of the modern game. They were brought up as part of a culture in which making the most of it was a legitimate act and the end justified the means. And while that is very useful in telling the public how it is at the sharp end, it is not particularly helpful in schooling future generations. Niasse won a penalty on Saturday when it was deemed that Scott Dan had fouled him. The striker claimed Dan made contact with his upper body, excusing his fall to the floor. Leighton Baines scored the resulting penalty to cancel out James MacArthur's early open. Luis Suarez said that in Uruguay, fooling the referee to win a penalty for your team was considered just another aspect of intelligent play, appreciated in much the same way as a smart pass is good match management. Thank you. We are still conflicted by this. The professionals may see only the bottom line, but the public do not like cheating. Everton followers will insist Niasse was harshly treated, but the rest will not give two hoots. The Football Association's mission to retrospectively punish divers was almost universally welcomed. Sir Niasse is the first Premier League player to fall foul of its statutory 2-match ban, but he will not be the last. Diving is too ingrained in football's character these days to be eradicated by the odd individual ban. Ultimately, Niasse's fall helped earn a point for Everton against a rival in the relegation zone. In their current predicament, Everton might even have sacrificed Niasse for 2 games for that. If 4 or 5 players were being suspended each week, or the punishment was doubled to 4 matches, there might be an overnight improvement in behaviour. For now, though, this is little more than a toe in the water. Predictably, however, Everton are outraged. David Unsworth may be new to management, but his complete self-interest and failure to see the bigger picture shows he is getting the hang of it. David Unsworth has hit out at the ban imposed on his striker Niasse for the next 2 matches. Contact or slight contact, it doesn't matter, he said. Well, yes, actually, it does. That is the crux of it, in fact. Slight contact, minimal contact, whichever term we use, is not the same as a foul and does not have to initiate a fall. There is no dispute over contact between Dan and Niasse. What is in question is whether it would cause a player to tumble. Unsworth considers this irrelevant. It isn't. It's a fake claim. It's a lie. In other areas of life, exaggeration of effect or consequence is an offense. Your house may have been burgled, but it is still fraud to invent a longer list of stolen items. And falling to amplify the impact of a collision is nothing less than a fraudulent claim. It's a dangerous precedent that could be set, warned Unsworth, and one must hope he is right. Now the FA have established that contact alone is no reason to go to ground. We might at last begin to see action. This is a grand opportunity and the FA should, as an old pro might say, make the most of it. The Toffees caretaker boss is concerned the ban will set a dangerous precedent. Why would Foden leave Pep after Manchester City's win against Feyenoord this week? A studio discussion over the future of Phil Foden concluded that the best thing for his development would be a loan move to a championship club. Harry Redknapp and Martin Keown were certainly in favour and no doubt will not be a loan. Many professional observers feel it is better to play matches, even inferior ones, rather than wait for an opportunity at an elite club. Yet, given what we have seen of City this season, why would any young player wish to move out of the orbit of Pep Guardiola? Indeed, if we could hand over all of England's best youth players to learn football his way, the future would be instantly brighter. Pep Guardiola gave Phil Foden left his senior debut during Tuesday's 10-win over Feyenoord. Guardiola sent the 17-year-old Manchester City starlet late on to play against the Dutch side. Foden grins as he is brought on. For City veteran Yaya Toure, who greets the youngster, Guardiola has been including Foden in his first-team plans since the summer, and talking him up to anyone who would listen since the middle of last season. The problem is that elite club rosters are now so big that teenage prospects must be ever more patient. Andres Iniesta was on the bench for Barcelona at the Champions League final in 2006 at the age of 22. Thiago Motta was beside him at 23. At another club, players of the talent would have been long established by then. So it may take several years for us to see our fill of Foden years when, yes, he could have amassed 100 games in the Championship. Yet at what cost to his development? Championship clubs are perhaps the most overworked in football. They play 46 league games and are often strong enough to progress through the early rounds of cups. Leeds played a 53-game season in 201,617, simply by getting to the fifth round of the League Cup. Foden is better off learning under Guardiola and his City teammates than moving elsewhere. Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday schedules are commonplace. When would a championship manager, however committed, get to work on Foden's development the way Guardiola can? When would Foden get the chance to learn first-hand from mentors as gifted as David Silva or Kevin De Bruyne? And after 2 years at, say, Derby County, would Foden return to Manchester City in any way prepared for the challenges of elite football? He might be stronger and a little battle-hardened, but surely he can have those experiences in the EFL Cup, the FA Cup and Europe. Guardiola didn't let him down this week. Even with the score tied 0-0, he still brought Foden on against Feyenoord with 16 minutes remaining. He now knows what it feels like to beat the champions of Holland. The learning has begun, and will continue under Guardiola. Why go to night school if you're already enrolled at Oxford? The precocious talent will get his chances to shine at the Etihad, but he must remain patient. Smalling needs to add to his game, not his trophy cabinet. Chris Smalling said he was surprised Gareth Southgate excluded him from England's friendly fixtures with Germany and Brazil. He pointed to Manchester United's excellent defensive record this season, and his own list of achievements with them. Every trophy bar the Champions League, as proof the England manager got it wrong. He added that if his run continues, it would give Southgate no option but to pick him. Smalling's logic is that if a serial winner like Jose Mourinho backs him, eventually, Southgate will have to do the same, but it's not as simple as that. For a start, even trophy cabinets can be misleading. Smalling wasn't the third-choice centre-half in either of his 2 title-winning seasons with Manchester United. He made 11 starts in 201,011, 10 in 201,213. He was a valuable squad man, not Sir Alex Ferguson's go-to guy. Equally, Smalling was sent off in the 2016 FA Cup final, before Jesse Lingard's winner in extra time, and had a very poor game. Wilfried Zaha gave him a torrid time. Chris Smalling has admitted his shock at being omitted from the England squad this month. England boss Gareth Southgate wants Smalling to improve on his passing to be considered, so credit Mourinho with making Smalling a much improved defender, but that is still less than Southgate wants. To get in this England team, he'll need to be much better on the ball. It's not Smalling's defensive qualities that are keeping him out of Southgate's squad, it's his passing. Smalling may be a solid centre-half, but he cannot deliver what Southgate needs technically, and his club manager has admitted it too. Mourinho has awarded Smalling the captaincy and trusts him in big games, but not in the way Southgate wishes to trust. Recalling last season's Europa League final win over Ajax, Mourinho told Tribuna Expresso, "I said to my players that, for me, beautiful football is not giving our opponents what they want. I even joked with Smalling, with your feet, we're for sure not playing out from the back," so Mourinho is aware of Smalling's limitations. He likes the defender, not the footballer, and is smart enough to find a way around the problem. Southgate is less capable of compromise, or maybe just less inclined to indulge it. His demand is that all his central defenders are comfortable on the ball. Meaning Smalling does not need to add to his trophy cabinet to impress the England manager, he needs to add to his game. Manchester United boss Jose Mourinho is under no illusions about Smalling's limitations, and complain, "Conte, you could be at West Brom if Antonio Conte does not want to play in the Champions League, he has options." West Brom, for instance. There's a club whose schedule is very rarely complicated by European commitments, and they're in the market for a manager. No doubt they'd be delighted to have Conte on the rebound from a long flight back to London. He'd be out of the class under normal circumstances. Conte is unhappy because Chelsea played in Baku on Wednesday and must now travel to Liverpool on Saturday. It was an exhausting journey with precious little turnaround time, but it did not have to be this way. Chelsea dropped 5 Champions League points in 2 games to Roma, meaning the fixture with Qarabag took on great significance. Had they achieved better results in those games, Conte could have sent a different team east, and kept key players in reserve for Liverpool. Chelsea manager Antonio Conte has been critical of their Premier League schedule. Roma are doing well in Serie A, but nevertheless Chelsea were poor. Napoli, Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid have all beaten Roma this season, and had Chelsea taken 4 points for them as Atletico did, they could have been as good as qualified after 4 games. Equally, the Premier League cannot base its schedule around European commitments. That would not be fair to the rest of the league. The elite clubs already have giant economic advantages, and managing a punishing fixture schedule is a tiny balance. Conte should appreciate that while Azerbaijan on Wednesday, Liverpool the following Saturday is not easy, it's a damn sight more agreeable fun than managing West Brom. If he wants an easier life, then West Brom are looking for a new boss to replace Tony Pulisic's criminal 4 irons to call 999. Embarrassingly, West Ham supporters have been asked to stop phoning 999 to vent the frustration after matches. Police have taken so many calls from irate fans, they issued a statement following Sunday's defeat by Watford. As Friday night brings the first home game of the David Moyes era against Leicester, perhaps they fear the worst. Even a handful of comedians attempting to report Manuel Lanzini missing since August are enough to clog an overworked system on a Friday night. Yet increasingly, our law enforcement agencies embrace social media, leading to some well-publicized attempts to engage football fans in bants. Is it any wonder, then, that a few clever Trevors forget the police are a vital public service, dedicated to more than making facile jokes at the expense of Mesut Ozil? West Ham fans have been asked to stop calling 999 to vent their issues about the club playing safely is not a tall order. Andy Carroll, we're told, is often penalized by referees just for being big. He uses his arms for leverage when jumping, goes the argument, everyone does it, but it looks worse from him because he's tall. How to explain, then, the relatively unblemished career of Peter Crouch? He is bigger than Carroll, rarely plays the man, and genuinely seems to get a raw deal from referees. If Carroll jumped as fairly as Crouch, there would be no issue. It's not that helps tall, it's that helps reckless. West Ham's Andy Carroll could cause serious damage if he continues to lead with his arm.